I accept losing, guys. I accept losing. I don't accept these fucking standards. I'm telling you, I don't accept them. I don't accept them, these standards. It's nowhere near. Nowhere near. And I'm not criticizing the attitude, but attitude is not enough, man. Courage is not enough. To run is not enough. You have to have much more than that. And it's nowhere near.
The standards are nowhere near. Mikel Arteta, January the 5th, 2022. Arsenal was currently losing at half-time to Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup. During this period, Arsenal were 4th in the league with 20 games played. And after numerous years of failure, the future of Arsenal Football Club lied in the hands of Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta was a novice coach. His only managerial experience being under Pep's tutelage at Man City, where he won 4 FA Cups and 3 Premier Leagues. I don't know if that's true. I kind of lost count after years and years of watching City win shit. But I digress. Arsenal want to re-establish themselves as the kings of English football. But could that really be done with a novice coach? Well, fast forward a year, and Arsenal are battling out with Man City at the top of the league, only losing narrowly to a Haaland-led City. I know I'm using the term narrowly very loosely here, but bear with me. Fast forward another 6 months, Arsenal are going to the international break on 3 wins and 1 draw, and yet fans still aren't happy. So, how did Arteta raise the standards from top 4 hopefuls to title challengers? Before we look at Arteta, we must analyse the state of Arsenal beforehand. After 2 decades, Arsene Wenger, Arsenal's greatest manager, decided to call it a day. Despite being hugely successful in his early to mid-Arsenal career, the professor found it hard in the latter stages. With the emergence of Man City and Chelsea, he couldn't keep up financially. Arsenal were beginning to be known as a top 4 club. This was compounded by constant round of 16 exits, which included the annual pack-in to Bayern Munich, AC Milan, and the worst of all, AS Monaco. I was about 12 when I saw that game. I still get pissed off now. 25-year-old Dimitar Berbatov sending us to school. Like, what's going on? Despite the greatest ever manager leaving them and the club's stagnation in recent years, Arsenal fans were quite hopeful. Unai Emery was taking the charge. He was a born winner with 3 Europa Leagues. Unai Emery was an upcoming manager with huge European pedigree, something Arsenal lacked, coaching big teams such as PSG and Seville. But could that translate to the Premier League? And more importantly, could he be the bridge from Arsene Wenger to the new age of Arsenal? Short answer is, no, he was not. Before going on Unai Emery's time at Arsenal, it must be said that he is a good coach. His time at Villarreal, Seville and Aston Villa has shown he is capable of managing big clubs and having success. However, his time at Arsenal didn't go to plan for many reasons. Firstly, the squad he inherited, while talented, didn't have the mentality needed to compete in the big time. Incidents like our first team players being caught smoking hippie crack or taunting other professional players on the pitch and then losing said game didn't really help Unai Emery in his first couple of seasons. Oh yeah, how could I forget Granit Xhaka, God bless his soul, flicking off Arsenal fans and throwing the armband on the floor while being subbed off. There were even some reports of players mocking the way Unai Emery spoke, taking the mick out of his accent. Despite these setbacks, he did manage to get us to a Europa League final, showing how much of an expert he is in this competition. But yet again, the mentality of the players shown and the infamous quote was born. Despite many times, Unai Emery couldn't change Arsenal and push them forward. This is because he failed to change the major recurrent issue, the culture. If you can't change the culture, you cannot change the team. The culture isn't just what happens on the pitch, it's what happens off the pitch, behind closed doors, on the training ground. And time again, Arsenal showing to lack the culture needed to compete with the big clubs in Europe. I mean, when you have to strip your captain of their armband for flicking off fans while being subbed off, replacing him with a guy that's constantly late because he's stuck in traffic in his chrome Lamborghini, like, what did we expect would happen? Eventually, time caught up with Unai Emery after a 3-1 thumping to Eintracht Frankfurt. He was sacked. After the sacking of Unai Emery, Arsenal were at a crossroads. They needed to make a decision and make it quickly. Lucky for them, 2 managers were on the market. The first, the record man himself, Carlo Ancelotti, multiple Champions League, multiple league winner, managed big players and big clubs. Second, Mikel Arteta, with no managerial experience. The only experience he has is being Pep's assistant at Man City. The choice was easy. Carlo Ancelotti, right? He has the credentials, he has the experience, he has the accolades. That's the guy Arsenal got. Right? Right? No, this is Arsenal we're talking about. In a decision that shocked absolutely no one, Arsenal passed up one of the greatest managers of all time for a guy that hasn't even managed a club. Well, at least we were able to see what Mikel Arteta was all about. Right? Right? No. The happened, and football was in lockdown for about 5 months. Football resumed for Arsenal on the 17th of June, and we started right where we left off, getting battered. Mikel Arteta's first game in charge was a 3-0 thumping to Man City. These type of scorelines to Mikel Arteta's former employers will be common in his reign at Arsenal. Arsenal followed this up with the infamous defeat to Brighton. Other results, such as the 2-1 defeat to Tottenham and the 1-0 defeat at Sevilla, brought an end to a miserable Premier League campaign where we finished 8th. However, this season wasn't all bad. While tinkering with his backline, Arteta found himself using a 5 at the back. This formation proved dividend to Arsenal as we won the FA Cup. This was a funny time to be an Arsenal fan because we only won FA Cup through scummy football and Aubameyang heroics. Yet it was a very satisfying end to an otherwise horrible season, leaving fans again optimistic about the future. But as we know by now, it's the hope that kills you. The 2020-21 season started out as a nightmare for Mikel Arteta, losing 8 games before Christmas. It was so bad that Arsenal were hanging about in the relegation zone, our worst start to the season in Premier League history. Many of the things that caused Unai Emery problems were beginning to rear its head from the sand. Ill-disciplined players not being fully committed to the cause was all evident in the first half of the season. If Arteta didn't change anything soon, he would be following Unai Emery through the exit doors. Unfortunately for Arteta, his next opponents would be Chelsea. Chelsea will also go through transition. After facing a transfer ban, they were forced to play with a lot of their youth. The likes of Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, Reece James were finally seeing first team minutes. This was being led by club legend Frank Lampard. Chelsea were feeling themselves during this period. Despite some losses, they were still 5th on the table, while Arsenal was 15th. Chelsea were clear favourites. For many Arsenal fans, Arteta's job was now on the line. This was a must-win game. Everyone knew Arteta had to change things up. If he kept things the same, he was bound to fail. Arteta knew this too. The first 11 that he put out was a shock to many fans. Normally, it would be a front line of Pepe, Aubameyang and new signing Willian. But Arteta took something out of Chelsea's playbook, trusting the youth. We saw a front line of Bukayo Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe and Martinelli. This was a team the Arsenal faithful could get behind. Bukayo Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe have been at Arsenal for years, coming through the Hale End, while Martinelli was picked up from Brazilian League 2 side Ituano FC. Probably didn't say that right, but who cares? Arteta knew he was taking a risk. By playing inexperienced players in such a big game, he knew if they failed, then his job might not be safe. It was almost like our last throw of the dice to save a sinking ship. And what would you know? The front three of Martinelli, Bukayo Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe will not disappoint. The game started very quickly, chances between both sides. However, Arsenal took the lead by Alexandre Lacazette. After being fouled, he won a penalty, which he converted ever so nicely. A couple of minutes later, the man himself, Granit Xhaka, thunderblasted a free kick from like 40 yards. And last, but definitely not least, Bukayo Saka chipped Mendy from almost outside the box. Tammy Abraham was able to get a consolation goal, but it was too late. Arsenal won the game 3-1. What was more impressive than the victory was how we played. The youngsters brought new energy in this depleted Arsenal team. The Arsenal faithful saw so much fight and spirit that they couldn't recognise this team from about a week ago. The media also saw this, giving exclusive praise to the Three Musketeers. Arsenal went on to win 4 of the next 5 games, slowly climbing us out of any relegation battle and into the top half of the Premier League table. If you thought this is where Arsenal turned things around, then you're wrong. Despite seeing good form going into the new year, during the February period, Arsenal began to slip up again, dropping silly points to Aston Villa and Wolverhampton. This up and down form seemed to follow Arsenal all the way until April, where we won 5 games on the bounce. However, it was too little, too late. The season came to an end, and Arsenal were 8th 2 times in a row, and without any European football for next season. Arsenal kicked off the 2021 to 2022 season, losing to newly promoted Brentford away. The woes continued for the Gunners as they lost to Chelsea and Man City. Arsenal ended the month of August with 0 wins, 0 goals and 9 goals conceded. Arsenal were able to turn this around in September, winning all 3 of their games. The Tottenham game specifically being one of the highlights of the season, as Arsenal came out 3-1 winners, scoring all 3 goals before the half-time mark. Smith-Rowe and Saka had an excellent game, with both of them linking up for the first goal, a trend we will see throughout the season. Despite a few hiccups, Arsenal were comfortably in the top 4 spots by the end of the year, 4 points above 5th place West Ham. However, fast forward to the end of the season, Arsenal inexplicably lost control of their own destiny, slipping to 5th. Losses to Newcastle and arch nemesis Tottenham during the final stretch of the season cost Arsenal dearly, giving Tottenham the chance to pounce on our mistakes. This hit the Arsenal fan base hard, and the players too. Granit Xhaka even coming out of the Newcastle game with a fiery post-match interview. But at the end of the day, there was nothing we could do. Beating Everton 5-1 in the final game of the season meant nothing. Even though there were some murmurs of Arteta's position at Arsenal, most of the fans remained loyal, seeing huge improvement compared to where we were 3 years ago. The Granit Xhaka interview in itself showed that the players do a word that you couldn't use to describe Arsenal just a few years before. The Gunners came flying out the gates, beating Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. We then followed this up with 2 victories at the Emirates over Leicester and Bournemouth. Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko showing why they were worth the £70 million we paid Man City. Arsenal began September with a 6-game win streak, an impressive showing. However, Ten Hag's United has something to say about that, snapping our win streak with a 3-1 defeat at Old Trafford. In yesteryears, such result would have derailed the entire season. But this Arsenal was different. Arteta built a fortress at the Emirates. Thumping Liverpool and Tottenham at the Emirates only solidified that. Even though it was early October, murmurs of a potential title charge was reigning amongst the Arsenal faithful. The players clearly heard this too, as they were able to continue their form all the way up to the World Cup break in December. With the resume of the Premier League after the World Cup, Arsenal found themselves on top of the Premier League table. The pressure, the nerves that come with such position clearly affected the boys, as we dropped silly points to Newcastle, Everton and Brentford. Unfortunately for the Gunners, Manchester City was up next. Man City was in a peculiar position after signing the world's best striker in Erling Haaland. They had an excellent start to the Premier League season, only being outpaced by yours truly. Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko were seen as bad business for Man City, something you couldn't see often. With Arteta also learning his trade at Man City, it was clear that Pep wanted to send a strict and firm message, and he got us at the right time. Arsenal's form did drop a bit after the World Cup. When Pep smells blood, you need to ask him twice, he's there. Man City destroyed Arsenal from the first minute to the last. Kevin De Bruyne showed Odegaard what true number 10 looks like, getting a goal and an assist. Despite all his hard work in the previous 4 years, Arteta knew there was no match for the juggernaut known as Man City. But if there's one thing you should know about Arteta by now, he ain't a quitter. Arsenal won 7 out of their 7 Premier League games going to April, including the result at Villa Park. With 10 games to go, Arsenal found themselves comfortably at the top of the Premier League with an 8-point gap between them and Man City. All we had to do was go to Anfield. Anfield is seen as one of the hardest grounds to go to, historically, due to their unique stadium structure and Liverpoolian culture. The atmosphere in Anfield's always rocking. In recent years, Jurgen Klopp has reinforced this energy with his heavy metal football. Arteta knows this, and he's done it for quite a while, in previous years trying different ways to negate the atmosphere at Liverpool, but nothing seemed to work. However, this is a new Arsenal, an Arsenal in a running, an Arsenal on top of the Premier League table, an Arsenal with new players, new philosophy, new mentality. What is this Arsenal going to do? We collapsed. Can't lie, we collapsed, and that's just how it is. We started the game off so well. Gabriel Martinelli leading us, scoring us a goal. His partner in crime, Gabriel Jesus, got the second with a nice cushioned header. It was going so well until a little incident broke out between Xhaka and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Even though we're small, this rejuvenated the Liverpool crowd, causing a ruckus in the stadium. The Liverpool players fed off this energy and quickly got a goal. For many fans, this was the start of the collapse of the season. As the game went on, you saw the players getting weaker, their legs turned to jelly. Liverpool were pressing us until they got their goal. Trent Alexander-Arnold nutmegged Zinchenko and whipped in a fantastic cross, which was dispatched ever so nicely. Zinchenko, our summer signing, absolutely cooked this game, and I mean cooked. Salah and Trent were sending him to town, bro. It was actually peak. It was so bad that he left the pitch with tears in his eyes. Yes, a grown man was left in tears because he was getting cooked in a football match. Arsenal had a chance to redeem themselves against West Ham, and that's what they were doing for the most part. 2 early goals in the first half should have been it for Arsenal. However, the boys were still haunted by the ghost of Liverpool. West Ham got a goal, but don't fear guys, Saka has a penalty. He hasn't missed a penalty all season. No way he's gonna miss now. Oh, he missed. Saka has missed the penalty. Yeah. Okay, best it up twice. Liverpool, West Ham, we scored 2 goals and let them come back into it. But that was away. At home, we've been a fortress at home. Who's next? Southampton, at home? Okay guys, let's get this season back on track. Oh my days. Oh, we are fucked. We are actually fucked. What are you doing, bro? Like, come on, bro. Like, we're trying to win the Premier League and then, like, come on, bro. Like, come on. Okay, we messed up against Southampton, West Ham and Liverpool. But we can still bounce back. We can still win this league. Who's next? Doesn't matter who's next. We can take them. Doesn't matter where or when. Oh shit. Not them. I saw you played these guys like last month. Like, what's going on? Yeah, we had Man City. And yeah, long story short, we got smacked. Again. I'm getting pretty sick of this, you know. City were now ahead of us with a game in hand. And we only have ourselves to blame, really. But we can at least see the rest of the games out. 4 more games to go. We can at least do that. So we can at least end the season on a high. Oh my days. Oh my days. Oh my days. 3-0 to Brighton at home. And City won the Premier for the 3rd time in a row. Erling Haaland scored a whopping 36 goals. A record in a Premier League season. And you know what makes it so bad? Man City lost against Brentford and Brighton as well. So if we just did our jobs for the last 4 games, we still would have won the Premier League. But the boys gave up. The Liverpool game mentally scarred them. The West Ham game broke their spirits. And the Southampton game just broke their hearts. And that's what happens in football. Momentum is everything. But as we know, football stands still for no one. Arsenal have to look up and forward. The 2023 to 2024 season is a perfect opportunity to do just that. With new enforcers such as Declan Rice for 100 million, Kai Havertz for 65 million, and Duran Timber, Arsenal now have a team that can fight toe to toe with Man City for a league, for a Champions League. Who knows? What we do know though, is Arteta has risen the standards. The culture, the mentality, all has changed thanks to him and his staff. During Wenger's latter years, there was a sense of dread, a sense of waste at this club. A club that can never go forward, only standing still. But this new regime has changed that narrative. This new regime has risen the standards.